Thanks for being here. We greatly appreciate your time. Today we will delve into the warrior who comes from hell. If we were to be born again, we would be brothers again, and I would protect you for life. Ikki to Shun after disappearing with Shaka. Ikki is the saint of the constellation Phoenix. It is characterized by having the most aggressive and violent cosmos among the saints. He is used to walking apart from the rest of the bronze saints, however he always appears opportunely in times of need. He considers himself a lone wolf who is not interested in walking in groups. Even though it was introduced later than the other four main bronze saints, Ikki's role in the story is quite significant. He serves as the first antagonist in the series that the other saints must defeat, as well as a powerful ally later in the series. On the CD drama Duke Vindangia and the spin-off episode G Assassin, Ikki was promoted to Gold Saint from the constellation Leo, after the Holy War against Hades. Similarly, Leo's Kaiser also recognizes him as his successor. Characteristics. Appearance. Ikki is a young man with a rough and serious appearance. He has short blue hair, as well as his eyes and a perpendicular scar that runs from his forehead to his nose. As a result of having dodged the blow that his old teacher threw him and with the one that ended up killing Esmeralda. In the manga, his hair was originally black, and in the next dimension it is reddish-brown with dark shadows. His eyes are dark brown. His civilian outfit consists of a sleeveless blue shirt with two parallel diagonal stripes on the shoulders, crimson-red pants and brown shoes. Personality. As a child, Ikki was known as a tough guy, and most often when it came to defending his younger brother. Ikki's personality is drastically different from his peers. He is the opposite of his younger brother Shun, who is calm, gentle, loving and very emotional, while Ikki is tough, cold, aggressive, and a very lonely person. They are a team of complementary styles. This is all because Ikki was trained harshly and was instilled with the ideology that only hatred provides power, which seemed not to have influenced him much until for sparing the life of his master. His beloved Esmeralda died, and his hatred that until then he was locked in his being. He was released when his origin as the son of Mitsumasa was revealed to him, on whom he could not take revenge because he was already dead. This attitude of hatred only kept her during the period of the Black Saints. After that she was only a serious, lonely character, and although aggressive she no longer overflowed so much hatred. Although he does not like teamwork, he comes to fight whenever the Saints of Athena need his help, and is often seen coming at the last minute to save his younger brother and friends from certain death. This tactic has always been exploited to his advantage, as he surprised enemies by fighting them. Ikki is a warrior who fights without holding back even when his enemy is a woman. Although Ikki likes to stay alone, he feels great devotion and love towards his brothers and towards his beloved Esmeralda, and as he confesses to Kaka, this is what gives him the strength to carry on. He is a noble, complex, and mature character, who is not in doubt every time it is necessary to sacrifice his life for his friends. In Saint Seiya Omega, his personality has remained intact. His cloth is also unchanged. True to his demeanor, he does not hesitate to reprimand Koga and the other bronze saints of the 21st century for their softness and lack of cold blood in protecting Athena from the forces of evil. History. Childhood. Ikki along with Hyga are the only knights who knew their mothers, considering that he must have lived with her until Shun's birth. After the birth of his younger brother and the deductible death of his mother, Ikki carried Shun through the streets of Tokyo. Until one night he had an encounter that marked his life when he was chased by a girl who was carrying a baby. But that it was actually the soul of Hades which took the form of a tiny solar system with a clear objective: to introduce the soul of the god of the underworld in the host that Hades chose on this occasion, and that was Shun. Her name is Pandora, and she went to Japan for that purpose. Ikki does not let himself be intimidated and resists Pandora's attacks as best he can and manages to defend Shun, although his memory of this incident was erased from his mind. Being an orphan, he was taken in together with his younger brother Shun in the orphanage of the Grodd Foundation, owned by Mitsumasa Kido, where he would establish his first ties of friendship with the other candidates for knights, but always showing a serious and protective attitude towards his brother. Particularly Tatsumai was annoyed by his rebellion, which came out when it came to his brother Shun, and especially when his training place was decided. Since Ikki decided to take Shun's place when he was sent to the Death Queen Island, which Tatsumai did not tolerate and decided to punish Ikki for his insolence. And when he sent him to the island of the Queen, Tatsumai killed him by putting him on the ship more dead than alive. Training. Ikki was trained on the island of the Death Queen, and had Guilty as his teacher. There he met Esmeralda, who worked with an old man from a nearby town. In the anime, she is the daughter of her teacher, with whom she becomes friends, and they end up loving each other. After 6 years of hard training, and the inculcation of hatred as a source of power, Guilty challenges Ikki to combat, giving him one last chance to obtain the armor of the Phoenix. Ikki surpasses his master, but stops before dealing a fatal blow, due to his devotion and respect towards him. However, Guilty's frustration with his student's attitude makes him launch a blow that, although it was aimed at Ikki, and he barely manages to dodge it, leaving the scar on his face that would accompany him the rest of his life. Unfortunately, the blow kills Esmeralda almost instantly. Enraged by the death of his only love, Ikki awakens hatred from the depths of his being and attacks his master unceremoniously, ultimately ending his life. In the manga, before dying, Guilty congratulates Ikki and lets his student know about his origins so that his hatred is consumed at its peak. The rescue of the Phoenix armor. Manga. As Guilty lay dying, he indicated to Ikki that he should go claim the Phoenix armor, which was already his by right, from the hands of the Black Saints who had taken it. So Ikki goes into the island of the Death Queen and fights against the 4 Black Saints of the Swan, Andromeda, Pegasus, and Dragon, whom he defeats. He then confronts Django, the leader of the Black Saints, who was retaining the bronze armor of the Phoenix. Ikki defeats Django and wears for the first time the armor that recognizes him as the Bronze Saint of the Phoenix. It is at that moment when Shaka from Virgo appears on the island, and explains to Ikki that he has come to eliminate Django, due to the evil activities of the Black Saints. However, he scoffs at the fact that the task was already performed by a newbie Bronze Saint. Ikki, enraged by disdain, attacks him, but Shaka shows him the difference in level between them. Ikki, humiliated by the defeat, he asks her to kill him. However, Shaka does not agree because he manages to see that in Ikki's eyes there is still goodness. Then, he erases all the memories of this meeting from his memory and threatens him by saying that if they see each other as enemies again, he will make him remember the fear he felt before his power. Anime. Ikki instantly wears the armor of the Phoenix and later goes on his own account to the island of the Death Queen, where he confronts and defeats Django and a Black Phoenix, leader of the Black Saints. After burying Esmeralda's body, the 4 most powerful Black Saints go in search of him and submit to his leadership, as do the other Black Saints on the island. Ikki accepts this situation and at this moment decides to start the fight against the Grodd Foundation and the Galactic Tournament to destroy the creations of Mitsumasa Kido. Since he cannot why take revenge on him, Ikki decides to kill all his brothers. Sanctuary Saga. The Galician Wars. His first appearance in history occurs in the middle of the Galactic Tournament. He only appears in the introduction of episode 001 with his cloth on and making a prelude to the confrontation he will have against Seiya. As the first act of revenge, Ikki goes to the Grodd Foundation Coliseum in Japan, where the Galactic Tournament takes place, and he secretly witnesses the first fights between the Bronze Saints. During the fight of his younger brother, Shun of Andromeda and Jabu of Unicorn, the Andromeda chain senses his presence, so when he is discovered he decides to execute his plans. Shun is thrilled to be reunited with his brother after 6 years. However, the excitement for the reunion soon turns into a bitter nightmare when Ikki savagely attacks him and claims that his return is aimed solely at the destruction of the Grodd Foundation. Although Jabu from Unicorn and Nachi from Wolf intercede, they are defeated by a single blow from the Phoenix. Nachi is the first to be attacked by Ikki's devilish phoenix illusion, temporarily destroying their nerves as a result of the illusion. The Black Saints subordinate to Ikki appear and wear the golden Sagittarius armor. In the anime, when he steals the armor, he gets to wear the Sagittarius armor, fake mode, for a few moments until Seiya punches him and takes it off with a kick. Because Seiya, Shiri, Hyga, and Shun recovered 4 of the 9 parts of the armor, Ikki decides to summon the 4 most powerful Black Saints, who possess exact replicas of the Pegasus, Dragon, Swan, and Andromeda cloth respectively, to the who assigns 4 parts of the armor in custody, keeping the helmet. The Black Saints. Ikki sends a challenge to the Bronze Saints. The fight will take place on Mount Fuji. In the anime it is in the cave of the 10 Winds Aokigahara, and everyone must wear a part of the golden armor. The winner of the match would get all the parts of the gold armor. Ikki vs Hyuga. After defeating the Saint of the Black Swan, Hyuga is the first to face Ikki. The combat is even. Hyuga resists the devilish illusion, but the advantage is tilted in Ikki's favor. Due to the pre-knowledge of Hyuga's techniques, provided by the Black Swan, through his right eye, according to the manga, and through of the swan insignia, according to the anime, Hyuga is defeated, but in one last effort he manages to freeze Ikki's right arm. After their respective battles with their peers, Shiri and Shun, they find Ikki. Shun does not want Shiryu to die at the hands of his brother, so he knocks him out and offers his life to Ikki, in exchange for him to give up the fight. However, Seiya and Hyuga have managed to recover and join the fight again. Hyuga confronts Ikki again, but this time he manages to return his diabolical illusion to him, with which he begins to have images of the past referring to his training on the island of the Death Queen. The death of Esmeralda, the murder of his teacher, the confrontation with the 4 Black Saints, with Django and Shaka from Virgo. However, Ikki manages to recover and with a powerful attack, knocks out his adversaries, except Seiya, who was protected by the newly assembled Sagittarius gold armor. This time, Seiya confronts Ikki, aided by the Andromeda chain, Shiri's shield, and Hyuga's diamond dust, finally managing to defeat the Phoenix. Manga. Ikki admits his defeat and the wrongness of his behavior. He also reveals to Seiya the origin of the 100 orphans of the Foundation and the paternity of Mitsumasa Kido. After learning the truth, Seiya sympathizes with Ikki. But a landslide on Mount Fuji is caused by Misty, and Mew must remove the Black and Bronze Saints from the mountain, but Mew claims that he could not reach Ikki with his teleportation. Anime. After being defeated, he reveals to Seiya and the others his suffering on Queen's Island death, and when everyone offers their forgiveness to Ikki, Docrates causes a landslide that leaves Ikki buried with his apparent death. The Silver Saints. Manga. Ikki manages to return just in time to face the second group of Silver Saints in charge of kidnapping Sayori, and saves her after Seiya has been badly injured in his attempt to save her from Jamian, declaring that he still does not know if it will be his ally or your enemy. Jamian was still following Sayori, and Ikki faces Jamian de Cuervo, whom he defeats without problems, then confronts Capella de Origa and Dante de Cerbero, defeating Capella only with his devilish illusion and knocking out Dante. Ikki was about to confront Argal of Perseus, admitting that his cosmos is stronger than that of his silver companions, but Dante recovers and attacks Ikki again. Shun stops him and confronts Dante. Now that the Bronze Knights have arrived, Ikki retires, leaving them the care of Sayori and Seiya. Before leaving, Hyuga advises him to expose himself to the volcano vapors on Canaan Island, in the Mediterranean, to regain the sensitivity of his right arm, frozen in his previous confrontation, or he could lose it. Anime. Ikki returns to save his brother Shun from Andromeda, who was cornered by the Saint of Flame. After the fight against Capella and Dante, in this version Ikki actually manages to amputate Capella's hands by distracting him with his devilish illusion. Ikki returns to Death Queen Island, where he meets Django, leader of the Black Saints, whom he confronts, defeating him and his soldiers. Thanks for getting here. There is much more to learn from the Phoenix, but for now we will leave it here. Thanks for your invaluable time. I'm Sid. See you later.